Hello, hi Gabriele.
Hi, Enrico.
Hi, welcome everyone to another episode of Small Talk. So I'm really happy today to have Gabriele Petronella with us. We're going to have a nice informal chat about TypeScript and React. So how are you, Gabriele?
I'm great. I'm great. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Great to have you with us. You can see the background is the famous, what do you call it, vertical woods in Milan, Bosco Verticale. Gabriele is based there, so it's kind of a tribute to his city. Today we are talking, as I said, about TypeScript and React. So the aim of Small Talk is to have a quick, by quick I mean about half an hour chat with our experts. We're gonna dig a bit into the topics of their workshops, and we're gonna do that, as I said, in an informal way. So we're gonna ask simple questions that just to know a bit more what's going on behind the scenes, why this workshop happened. Some fun stuff always comes up. And of course, this is a great opportunity for all of you watching us to ask questions. We like the small talk to be interactive, and so please use the YouTube chat down here to ask your questions to Gabriele about his workshop and anything that comes to mind, really. We're going to be in the front-end world for today. With Gabriele, we did one edition of your workshop already, if I'm not wrong, in May or June last year, isn't it?
Yeah, it was in June. Yeah.
So we did this first edition in Italian. It went really well. Actually, I think it was one of the quickest sellout of our entire catalog. So we were very happy to do it again with Gabriele in English this time around, and in the afternoon to accommodate for other time zones if needed. So today we talk with Gabriele a bit more about his workshop. As you can see, the title, TypeScript and React, very easy. So let's start with that. Gabriele, so your workshop has quite a long title. We'll, as I said, dissect the content of the workshop during this talk. TypeScript and React for flexible and evolvable apps. So what is this about?
So the workshop is essentially tries to be at the very least a very practical primer to how to structure web applications using TypeScript and React together, with the purpose of making these applications last as much as possible without getting into a tangled mess, so to say. So the general gotcha is that we can use technologies like TypeScript and React together in order to take advantage of their strength and make an application that is whose architecture channels the good parts of these technologies in order to make it like in scale in terms of scalability. I mean, I need to explain what scalability means. It means in several different terms. So probably like team scalability, so adding new people to a project, like time scalability, like letting a project grow without getting out of control, and also sheer code base scalability, like we write more code, very rarely we remove chunks of code. So whenever we add more code, we add more complexity to it, and we can manage this complexity using these technologies. So the core of the workshop is try to give a very practical approach backed by the theory in order to make these applications work in your actually daily work. So it's very much concrete in its core meaning. So that's why the title is long, because it explains several different concepts, but try to make you understand that this is a very, very practical course that you can apply on your day job, like tomorrow.
Indeed, as you said, there's lots going on. It's not only about the two technologies put together, which is one of the most important bits, as I know, about the workshop, but there's a lot going on about team, people, project as a whole. It's not only the tech. So that's why we need to take into account different parts of it. You already touched on the scalability bit, but we'll get back to that later on. One question we always ask is, so considering what you just said, of course, it's a very practical workshop. That's how we like them to be, and avant scoperta. So there's always a theory and then practice, and then the key part is you have something to do from day zero, really. So something you can bring back to your work and start doing. So who is going to benefit the most from this workshop? What type of person should join us?
So, due to the very nature of the course, this is not an introductory course on either TypeScript or React. So some knowledge of these technologies is basically assumed, especially for the React part, even though you can basically follow a primer in these two technologies before the course, and then you're pretty much set. But the people who are going to benefit the most from this class are the people who are going to take some parts of the decisions that come into play whenever you're starting an app or making some architectural choices to the app. So whether you're already an architect in your team or whether you're planning to be your study to become one, this is the course for you, meaning that this course gives you the tools to make decisions about the structure of your code bases. So it's not only meant to users of these technologies, but it's meant to decision makers in terms of technology choices and architectures of entire code bases. So I would say architects or people looking for a path to become an architect. So it gives you the tool to become one, to some extent, of course.
So again, you're mentioning it's the second answer, and it's already about the people rather than the technology, which is very important because, as you said, it is assumed or at least preferred. But if you look at the workshop description, you have all the how to get started before going to the workshop section. So again, it's much more about the people and who is going to decide and how to make choices with regards to this. I like the comment, elbow cuff as well. I was laughing for that.
I have a bit of allergy this time of the year.
No worries.
But I try to mute the mic when I do that.
Very respectful as usual. So yeah, again, talking about people is that's one of the common threads at Avant Scoperta. It's not only the code, not only the technology, but who is gonna do this and how it actually impacts the team as a whole. We're gonna go back to this again later on. So another question we always ask is, so how did it start? So where did this idea come up? I know I'm spoiling this a bit because it's something that folks see only if they come to the workshop, but the first edition we had Gabriele plus 2 other trainers. Hopefully it will be the same in the future. So this is just to say it was a team effort for what I remember, or not. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it is absolutely a team effort. I mean, I'm the front runner of this course, but Eric Camellini and Francesco Toria are like 2 people I've worked with for years, and they basically co-designed the course with me. And to touch on your question, it comes from the experience of working on several different projects, especially big, I would say big, long-lived front-end projects. And generally speaking, the inspirations for this is that we've been using TypeScript, we've been using React for like a long time, like 2014, I think we started using React. And TypeScript, we adopted it in, I would say, the end of 2017. So probably before the gold rush towards TypeScript that happened somewhere at the beginning of 2019. So I would say TypeScript peaked in terms of interest, at least surged in terms of interest in 2019, and then it became ubiquitous. So what happened is that since January 2019, people started using TypeScript as a default much more than before. And people were already using React for the most part. And even in big enterprises, we work with big enterprises and we see using React and TypeScript together. So what happens is many teams choose the technology first. And maybe team leaders or CTOs of companies, they choose like, okay, we should use React and TypeScript because these are the technologies that are most used right now. But then a lot of people come from different backgrounds. Some people just wrote React with JavaScript before. Some people wrote TypeScript, but with Angular. So there was a lack of knowledge on how to structure applications using React and TypeScript at that time. And at the same time, we actually work on a super big project. Like we're talking about like for a single front end, over 30 people working together. So the scalability issues hit us really bad in terms of complexity. And we managed to survive, I would say, that massive project using React and TypeScript in a meaningful way, and also structuring the project so that it would fit the organization and the people. And we think these two technologies helped a lot when used together properly. So that's the inspiration for this course. It stems directly from that experience, but it comes from years of like running long-lived and pretty complex front-end projects.
Amazing. Thanks for the whole history also of the TypeScript and React.
I try to give some context. I realize I may speak a lot.
Absolutely. No, it's absolutely great. And was there one moment where you found like a big pain point and you said, look, if we use them together, it's kind of useful to, have them together, really?
Well, yes, it took us some experimentation as well, because these are technologies that are used together, but one is a programming language that it's built on JavaScript. It brings in static type safety, and it may we actually use it with some hardcore functional programming stuff over time. And the few people that know me know that I'm also a fan of functional programming. The other half of my technology stack is Scala, where I gave a lot of talks about functional programming in several different languages. But we also realized that sometimes using TypeScript that way drifts you away whenever you need to onboard people that are more junior, they don't know about functional programming. So a lot of the challenges that we faced is that we need to onboard people that know React, but we don't need to use TypeScript, for instance, to its very absurdly extreme core, using stuff that only we understand. So whenever we found ourselves working with several different people from several different backgrounds, we had to find a middle ground using proven technologies, using technologies that we think makes everything safer, but also they don't scare people away. So this is what we teach in the course. So we teach you very practical stuff. So this actually happens in a couple of editions. We had an edition in June, and some people were expecting some like super freaky functional programming stuff from me, probably because they knew me before, but the course is not about that. I want to just very, very clear. It's not a course about functional programming, not just because you have React there. Just because you have TypeScript there, this is not like a functional programming deep dive. We try to be very practical, very concrete, and we use the bits that we think are important from our tool set of functional programming, but we also try to stay real. And doing so makes it work a lot better with React, because the React community at large isn't, as much as I would like so, isn't a functional programming community. So balancing the two took us a lot of time, and we think we learned enough to teach other people how to do this.
That's brilliant, and really explains, first of all, it is, as you said, and rightfully, not of course about functional programming, and also why they matter together, really. Really interesting. So as you touched about the how it actually works during the workshop, the next question would be about, so we have 4 half days, well, this time is 4 afternoons. Of course, there's going to be some theory, but it's, as we like it, it's mainly about doing stuff, coding exercises and the like. So how is this balance maintained during the workshop?
So the generality of the workshop is that you spend most of your time during the workshops doing stuff, mostly pairing with other people. We think this is the most effective way of making the concepts that we explain stick. So the idea is that you try to do stuff. Sometimes we ask you to do stuff that we didn't necessarily explain. And then after you realize the issues, the complexities, and potential issues with the approach that you're trying to develop, Then we take a break and we explain the theory behind or the concepts behind what we were trying to do, and we try to make it better. So the idea is to go back and forth from doing and learning what we were trying to do and building concepts one on top of the other, while keeping this very interactive. So we do have some slides where we speak frontally about some topics, but we try to, again, to keep it interactive, and people generally intervene, ask questions. So even though the sessions are, again, mostly practical, when we have theoretical stuff, we still try to keep it lively. It's not a university class if you come from that background. It's not 4 hours of me or other trainers talking to you and you taking notes or something. Like, again, you do most of the stuff, but it's really important to me to stress that the things you do always have a concept behind it. And we think this is very powerful because it creates your opportunities to link this concept to things that are not in the course. So for instance, if you come from an Angular background and you're taking a React and TypeScript course, the idea is that since you're learning the concepts, not the specific technologies, even though we touch on specific technologies, you can take this concept and apply it to Angular, for instance. This actually happened. Like I once taught a version of this training to a team that was very proficient in Angular, and they were working in Angular. They were interested in learning React, but they took the concept from the course and they actually applied it. They wrote to me afterwards to their Angular code bases, because we try to make the concept general and then apply it practically to a real life example in React. So the idea is that what you take away from the course is mostly concepts that you learn through practice. That's the ambition, at least. So hopefully that explains a little bit how the course is structured and what you can expect.
Yeah, and the bit you said about having concepts rather than follow these with this language is very, very important for us as well. It's about learning how to reason and how to apply what you learn in your own context. There's no script, there's no do this and this will happen. It's rather apply this that you learn, like the concepts behind, to your own context and trial and error, but it's not about having
exactly. It is not a tutorial. We're not explaining to you A, B, and C, and that's it. Even though we have a script to follow, we have many occasions during the days in which we collect questions about topics, about from the people attending the course. And then we have free moments in which we can share the lessons learned, share if someone wants to talk about a specific topic that is not in the agenda, we have dedicated time for that. So we talk about the most random things, and we share experiences with each other, because the people attending the course know about the subject to some extent. So it's also a good occasion to learn from peers, from other people doing your same job, maybe in a different way or in a different company. So it's not just about like me blabbing for hours. It is about connections between the people attending the course.
And we've seen this was a very valued part in the feedback. Like we really like being with peers and exchanging ideas. Another bit I would add which is not visible now, but we always try to do in Advanced Prepared, is we have breakout rooms. So of course, right as of now, it's an online course in live streaming. So we're going to be in one Zoom meeting with Gabriele and probably Eric and Francesco for the duration of the course. And then whoever is attending is going to be split into groups. So there's group discussion, then the groups get mixed, and then we discuss the whole thing in the main room. So again, there's a lot of discussion and opportunity to not only learn from Gabriele, but from your other peers as well. So I had a question for you, but I think we already covered that, but why not? Let's do this anyway. So why is it important that they are together?
Yes, this may seem a little bit abstract. I touched on it a little bit before. The idea is that you can know both React and TypeScript perfectly, but when you use them together, they really complement each other in a nice way. Because React, for instance, it allows you to structure your application in a very modular way. The core concept of components helps a lot. And TypeScript has a lot of ways, if used properly, to make these modularization that React brings even more powerful. So even just bringing in some concepts that are generic to TypeScript to React, basically they feed each other, they feed off each other's power to give you something that is basically, the way we describe it in the abstract is like 2 + 2 = 5, right? Because if you don't use it purposely together, you may lose out on some aspects. So let me just give you a quick example. Like TypeScript is a static programming language, right? So it gives you types. But at some point, React application generally deal with the runtime stuff, right? You get some inputs from the users and whatnot. So the cool thing is when you bridge the gap between the two, right? So React also gives you stuff like prop types, which are not fashionable anymore, but people now say use static types. But static types only cover one part of the way. So there are libraries, there are technologies out there, but in general, there are approaches that stem from pure TypeScript libraries that if you apply to an architecture made in React in the correct way, they guide you to making the right things in the years to come, right? The general idea of the workflow is if you structure things correctly day one, on day 900, you're still reaping off the benefits of that. And like runtime validation and how that interplays with static validation and where you should put it in your React application is a whole topic that we cover in the course, for instance, which really shows the connections between structuring of React and TypeScript and how to use it together. It may seem abstract said this way, but trust me, it is very concrete that it will hit you in the first exercise of day one really bad if you never thought about these things before. And it's also fun.
I'm sure who is watching will.
Yeah, if you attend the course, we'll throw you some wrenches on your way, and also give you the tool to fix it.
Absolutely, I'm sure it will sound super interesting to whoever is watching. So please do take a look at the workshop description. And again, we are still here for about 10-15 minutes. So ask away if you have questions for Gabriele. So one of the final points is the promise of scalability. Now, no pun intended about Scala, of course, but it is here. One of the bits about scalability I really liked, and it's quite well stressed in the description, is about the team. So not only the scalability of the application, but also of people joining the team and having to learn new stuff, and the team gets bigger and bigger. So looks like choosing this combination of TypeScript and React can bring benefit with that in mind as well. So how does that work?
So yeah, I define scalability in several different ways. I mentioned before, like scalability can mean like the code base gets larger. So in my experience, I mean, previous from using TypeScript, for instance, I wrote like big code bases in JavaScript, like hundreds, thousands of lines of code. And they don't scale very well because you have limited visibility on the impact of your changes unless you test absolutely everything. And again, I don't want to get there because this is a very hard topic about testing versus types or whether you use together. I think you should use them together. In my experience, it's very difficult to cover everything with tests, for instance. So TypeScript helps a lot in at least understanding the impact of your changes. Whether touching something breaks something else, it becomes harder and harder the bigger the code base becomes. So that's one side of scalability in which TypeScript helps a lot. React helps a lot because modularizes things. So that helps. Team size, and it is another one, it's an important one, but not only team size, but also team composition. So if you're maintaining a code base for years, even if you're like two people, these two people may not be the same two people for like 10 years. Some people like come and go, some people stay around, but they need to onboard new people. So people change, people grow over the project. So at some point, you would need to explain the code base to somebody else, and you would need to have somebody send a pull request over to your project. and who's new to the code base. So I'm a strong believer that if you structure things correctly, the tooling itself, and by tooling I mean anything that helps, ranging from like static analysis tool like ESLint or TypeScript itself, or even just having I don't know, a script that does something, a check on a pull request. Everything that helps and is automated will immensely help anyone trying to contribute to that project, whether it's an open source project, a private project, a huge enterprise project. So if you structure your tooling correctly, and if you structure your code base correctly, you can guide people towards a success path. But on the other way, if you do too much stuff, like we used to do, we erred on that side, like throwing like every single function and programming concepts at it. The risk is that the learning curve to your code base is very hard. So people can accidentally do anything wrong, but they can also can't actually do anything at all because they face they get hit on a wall, basically trying to do anything. So you need to strike a balance, and using again TypeScript and React purposefully, you can essentially harness the power of these two technologies and avoid common mistakes without preventing people from doing some mistakes that are trivial. Again, it is not a perfect solution, it never is, but we think there's a lot of value in learning how to structure these things, such as new people can come and not be essentially completely lost when they try to understand or work on your code base, which is supposed to become their code base at some point. We actually had a lot of experience with this since we started the project with 5 people and we onboarded 25 people in it. In this specific project that lasted a couple of years, only the setup. So yeah, I hope we learn enough to speed to essentially give you a shortcut to not make the same mistakes again.
Which is a perfect hook for my almost final question, which is about some case studies. So you, of course, majority of our workshops comes from some painful situation or some big problems, and then we find a solution and we try and transmit this to others. So you just said we had the same issue with the scalability of people and team, and basically making sure whoever was joining the team was in a safe environment and not destroying everything. Anything else you can share with our community?
I mean, I have like huge NDAs looming on top of my head. So this is a big project for a big enterprise. And this is, again, the main inspiration of this course, mostly because it's the most recent one. We had, is the biggest, and it's a recent one. We've done several others. We actually had some experiences lately with handing over projects to another team. So we started a project with the premises that we were like setting up the front end part, and eventually our client would hire people to take over the project because they just wanted to speed run the front end part and then internalize it. So then again, that case study showed how you can come to a common ground to people who are not super experienced with your own stack, still using TypeScript and React as a core foundational technologies in doing so. And it was a real big success. I mean, we managed to onboard new people that didn't know much about the specific technologies, but they were productive in a matter of like a couple of weeks. So we think that's a good case study because we thought from day zero about the fact that this code base would go hand to hand with a different team in a matter of like 4 months. So yeah, that also taught us a lot. And these taught us a lot probably more in the specific technology choices when we go into details, like choosing a library over another because that's more popular, even though you think the other one is better. That's some choices that sometimes you need to do. And we will talk about that in the course.
I think it's a brilliant example, and yeah, makes a lot of sense. So thank you for sharing that. I know NDAs, we don't want to
I can't make names or anything, maybe, but yeah.
Let's not put anyone in jail for a small talk on Friday afternoon.
No. But at least one of these you know, so to say. It is big enough, you know it.
Big enough. Excellent. Thanks, Gabriele. So I would like to,
Thank you.
There's no questions from our viewers. Thank you very much for being with us. I would like to just leave us with some suggested readings or videos. We can already say that you did a live coding meetup with us. I think it was May or April this year. So I'll link that straight away. So we are done with the self-promotion bit. But if there's anything else you want to mention, this is a good time for doing that.
Yeah, you caught me off guard here. So the thing I can say is that if you're thinking about this workshop and you're not sure whether you know enough about React or TypeScript to start, if you check out the resources at the very end of the workshop description, we had people attending the course successfly.
If you take a look at like TypeScript used to have a template.
Sorry, Rico, I think the video started in the background.
Oh, it was fine. Yeah.
As I was saying, we had people attending this course successfully. There are maybe backend developers that know a little bit of TypeScript. They didn't know anything about React. And just by following the primers of React or the primer of TypeScript, the getting started guide, if you invest a couple of afternoons doing those, you're good to go for the course. We had this experience because we are not focusing too much on the technologies, even though you're supposed to use the technology. We are focusing again on the concepts. So you may go a little bit slower on the exercises if you're not like super proficient in these technologies, but that's okay. That's accounted for in the course. The exercises especially are a gradient of complexity, so that you have stretch goals, but it's fine if you don't meet them. They're not critical for following the course. So yeah, I think if you don't know nothing about React or TypeScript, it's worth to take a look at the resources that we linked and check them out.
Yeah, thanks, Gabriele. And there are actually somewhere here. Too many windows open, but I left on the description.
It should be in the FAQ. Yeah.
There you go. So down here you'll find some resources, and they should be good to get you started.
Yeah, there's an introduction to React from the new documentation, which is very good. It's still in beta, but it's like everyone who works with React knows that the beta documentation is the new documentation. And then there's a TypeScript in 5 minutes, which is really good. And especially if you come from like Java or C#, there's a TypeScript in 5 minutes for object-oriented programmers. That is, again, very suitable if you know static types from a language like Java, for instance, which has a specific take on static types. So I found them to be very valuable, even for myself when I was starting. So yeah, I think it's
so no more excuse, basically. So there's no more excuse. I'm joking. You have all the resources there if you want to take a look and find out more. We would love to have you. That's screen sharing, yeah. At the workshop, if you have any questions, Twitter, LinkedIn, you know where to find us. And I guess that is it. Gabriele, anything else you want to close with or say?
No, just thank you. I hope I'll see. I think I'll see some of you. I've seen in the chat at least already subscribed for a workshop. I think we have 4 spots left for this edition. So
yeah,
I don't want to sell it too much, but in case you're interested, they're going. So
absolutely, yeah.
I hope I'll see you there.
We'll see you there. Thank you, Gabriele. Thanks all of you for being with us. We'll announce the next workshop, the next videos in the coming days. And for those of you who will be around, we will be at Italian Agile Days in 2 weeks. So we hope to see you there. We are back to an in-person conference after 3 years with a sponsor booth. Really exciting. Come and say hi. And if not, we'll see you online. Thank you, everyone, and see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.